Hello and welcome to the Tie Show for May 1st. We're in a new month. Not a lot of sports again to talk about today. I'll get through the main points and then we'll do our Smackdown review afterwards. But let's jump straight into it today. We got news today that the NBA is highly optimistic that the season will return at some point. As you saw today with the combine being canceled and the lottery being pushed back, or not the combine being canceled, but the lottery and the combine being pushed back. The draft hadn't been pushed back, but I would assume so that would be two because you kind of have to have those two things before you can have the draft. So that's all getting pushed back. Heard August, September, somewhere around there for the draft. Uh, and there's a couple spots we talked about yesterday with Disney World. I know Vegas has now opened a full strip on the MGM says they can have a full road strip of Vegas to live and play. They said they only need 15,000 tests, but they won't take 15,000 tests unless all of America is all caught up. So that's where we are with the NBA. Presti said it's a very interesting time. It's going to be different, as of course they want to play with the fans in the arena, but they understand they can't right now. And whatever's the best possibility, they'd rather finish the season. But yeah, basketball, it's definitely going to change. Even pushing the season back to December if you have to, it's going to be different for sure. Uh, as we've been doing a little bit of a recap, we talked about CD 2 days ago. Yesterday was our Jalen Hurts review. Today I'm going to talk about Neville Gallimore and what his reaction was to be drafted. And he said that if you watched him getting drafted on TV, he was very calm when his name was called, but he said he wasn't at all when the Cowboys called him. Was in Dallas about 5 minutes from the practice facility. He said that he couldn't even breathe when Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy called him, and almost immediately afterwards he drove over to the practice field and started doing snow angels on the field. So you could clearly tell he's happy. I mean, four-star recruit out of Canada. It definitely took him a little bit to learn the sport of football as it's played in America, which is completely different. And so it's very interesting to see how he took that and ran with it and became as good as he did, getting selected in the third round. He's with CD Lamb, who he said was one of his favorite teammates while he was at OU, and the guy he looked up to at OU the entire time was Gerald McCoy, who he's now backing up in Dallas, which is cool. Said OU will always be his family, and that they've treated him really well. And he's happy all the people that he met at OU. Also, there's some news that Joe Montana called him because Joe Montana was also the 82nd pick, so gave him some advice right after he got drafted. So it's cool for Neville. We'll see how he does in Dallas. Again, I'm hyped up to see this new Dallas team with CD and Gallimore and Reggie Robinson and all the people that they've added on that team. In other news, the Jaguars also did not pick up the fifth-year option on Leonard Fournette, which means that they could have had him next year, but they've elected not to and make him a free agent, which is interesting because, I mean, they were trying to trade him at the draft, so you clearly tell. So this will probably be Leonard Fournette's last year in Jacksonville. I don't know where he ends up afterwards. It'd be very interesting to see, though. That's all the main sports of the day. Let's jump into the SmackDown review, which we had our last two qualifying matches for Money in the Bank. And Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin. Daniel Bryan kicked off the evening's broadcast, and before he battled King Corbin at the night's opening contest, he cut a promo in which he expressed his love for wrestling and getting to do things that he's never done before. Bryan talked about the uniqueness of the upcoming Money in the Bank ladder match held inside WWE's corporate headquarters on May 10th. He even got a nice dig on Vince McMahon for having dinosaur bones in his office. He talked about the significant Money in the Bank had on his career before going into the injustice endured by Drew Gulak on last week's show at the hands of Corbin, Nakamura, and Cesaro. Corbin arrived on the scene and cut a promo that Bryan answered by reminding him that he is only one of the four people to completely blow the Money in the Bank cash. The King claimed he was stronger and smarter, and he will win the briefcase. This is unexpectedly strong promo from Bryan. It's not to suggest that he's a quality talker, but given how half-hearted the build to Money in the Bank has been, he's really made the match feel like it's a huge deal thanks to his ability to equate its significance to its own career. His win in this match sparked a push that few expected he would get, especially the sort of story that helped boost his gimmick. It started the whole yes chant, started the whole Daniel Bryan. He was equally as good as he reminded Corbin of one of his greatest professional humilities, adding heat to the opening match. Good stuff right here out of the gate. I mean, it was a very good promo by Daniel Bryan. I had no problem with it at all. Hyped up the Money in the Bank match, which we find out later in the night that they're going to hold the money, the mids and the women's at the same time, which is very interesting. It'll be cool to see how that works out. But we jump straight into Daniel Bryan versus King Corbin right after this. Corbin beat Gulak last week, so this was the revenge match for Bryan. Uh, Bryan withstood an early barrage of right hands by the former Gold Glove winning opponent and took Corbin down with a leg whip. He worked the leg of the opponent until the larger Corbin used his side advantage to turn the tide. Big right hand rocked Bryan, knocking him off the top rope to the arena floor. He sent him shoulder first to the ring post as the show went to commercial. Back from the timeout, Corbin continued to control the bout, pulling and tearing at his opponent's shoulder. Bryan scored a quick near fall off a crucifix roll up, but Corbin leveled him with a clothesline for a 2 count of his own. A Tope Suicidal wiped Corbin out at ringside, and Bryan sparked a comeback with a middle rope dropkick. Still nursing the shoulder, he uncorked a series of kicks about the legs of his opponent before applying a Kurt Angle's ankle lock. 2019 Key to the Ring again cut him off, this time with a deep six for a near fall. Bryan recovered and again targeted the legs, locking in for a half crab. Corbin got to the rope, forcing the break. Seeking the sanctuary, the floor he rolled to the outside and proceeded to throw a ladder at Bryan, causing a disqualification. After the match, an irate Corbin brought a ladder into the ring to set it up for the end of days, only for Bryan to counter it into the yes lock. Then Nakamura and Cesaro appeared from out of nowhere, and a 3-on-1 assault ensued, ending with Corbin sending him into a pile of ladders. This was a very good match, but the DQ wasn't needed, in my opinion. She gave the win. I mean, it makes sense to protect both men heading into the Money in the Bank match rather than having one of them lose. But I would have gave the win to somebody here. What does not make sense is Cesaro and Nakamura teaming up with Corbin. They're not mentioning Sammy at all, who's at home because he got his wisdom teeth taken out. But it's very interesting to see that they're not even mentioning that. What happened to Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sammy, and why are Nakamura and Cesaro helping Corbin? They definitely need to express that more, but they're not. And then we had Universal Champion Braun Strowman made his way to the ring for a promo. Before he could say much at all, Bray Wyatt interrupted him with a Firefly Funhouse. Wyatt read the black sheep, equating himself to a shepherd who discovered the black sheep who was Strowman, only to have him leave him with no notice, and all of the other animals left too. He vowed to come up with a happier ending, one in which he takes the Universal Championship from Strowman. Monster Among Men challenged Wyatt to come to the ring, but the antagonist instead waved and promised to see him soon. This has been a very low-key story, but an awesome build to this match. There is history between Wyatt and Strowman, which the former had drawn on to tell their story. The Shepherd, he is now looked to avenge a member of his flock leaving him, and to do so he must take the title. It is simple, effective, and most importantly makes sense. Now, I mean, it would be better if it felt like Strowman could actually retain, which I don't want him to retain, but we all know that Bray's winning this title. Like, it would make complete sense for Bray to win this title, slap it on Bray. But again, as we talked about last week, it's very interesting that they're not advertising the Fiend for this match, which it's just Firefly Funhouse Bray versus Braun. We'll see. The way that that segment ended, I assumed that next week we're going to get a attack from the Fiend on Braun, or we may just get a promo for Firefly Funhouse Bray, which probably confirms that we're not getting the Fiend this match. But we'll see. Next, we had Sheamus come out for another squash match against the unfortunate soul of Leon Ruff. The young star endured consecutive Irish curse backbreakers while Sheamus focused on Michael Cole at the commentary table, asking him if he was enjoying himself. A massive bro kick brought an end to Ruff suffering as Sheamus picked up another win. As Sheamus made his way to a table, a video package on Jeff Hardy aired, recapping his career to this point and the journey back to the squared circle. Upon Cole revealing that Hardy will return next week, Sheamus warned that he would be there too. Sheamus has deserved a much higher profile program than anything he's had the opportunity to do since he's returned from injury. But this build with Hardy has been okay. I don't like the squash matches as much, but I think that this match could be really good next week. The lack of star power elsewhere on the blue brand will allow Hardy and Sheamus to thrive. Two former WWE championships trying to move up the ranks. They have style that should complement each other. Hopefully, the matches live up to the ability of the participation. I would assume that they also fight at the pay per view on Sunday. It's interesting to see who will win. I think it's going to put Hardy over. But do they actually try to take Sheamus out? And first Money in the Bank qualifier of the night, Mandy Rose versus Carmella was next. This is for the last spot in the women's match, which is Asuka, Shayna, Nia, Lacey, Dana, and Carmella, who won this match. The latest addition to the Women's Money in the Bank match would be determined. Each woman then took turns showing off their athleticism before Carmella caught her opponent with a wicked kick to the face as Rose seized control. Sonya arrived. She told the story of last year's Money in the Bank match where she handed over her spot to Rose, then helped her and Mandy still managed to lose. Sonya threatened to come to the ring for a fight, but stopped just in time for Carmella to score the win over her distracted opponent. After the match, Deville hit the ring and unloaded on Rose. She sent her to the ringside area, threw her into the announce table, and flattened her with a running knee to the back of the head. A satisfied Sonya made her way up the ramp as the referee asked for a trainer. The goal is to make a star out of Rose, but thus far, Sonya's been the fantastic in this. She has got some great promos, and here showed the intensity of fury of one would expect from a woman who had her friendship dissolve before her very eyes and is sick of being overshadowed. Beatdown was exactly what we needed and put a ton of heat on the rivalry between good friends but better enemies. As for the match itself, it was rather nondescript, incredibly basic as much as the spotlight was on Deville crushing it on the mic. I would assume that we probably get a Mandy versus Sonya match soon, but we'll see. Next, we got New Day versus the Forgotten Sons. A week after they left the SmackDown Tag Team Championships line, the Forgotten Sons, Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler with Jackson Riker on the outside, battled the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Big E in a non-title match. Before the contest could get underway, The Miz and Morrison joined Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary. The New Day controlled early. Big E stood tall heading into the commercial break. Back for the timeout, the heels isolated Big E, beating him down while Cole attempted to drive a wedge between Miz and Morrison by reminding them that the latter pulled his weight at WrestleMania while Miz lost the tag titles for them. In the ring, Kingston received the tag and unloaded on the opposition, taking the fight to both Cutler and Blake. The former WWE champion delivered a big stomp to Cutler, but a blind tag to Blake and a backstabber top rope elbow combo put him down for a 2 count. Big E tried for the spear through the ropes, but no one was home. Riker, behind the official's back, sent him into the ring post. Back of the ring, Cutler and Blake down to Kingston to pick up the win and move into title contention. The New Day have a great, energetic tag match with just about anyone, but the Forgotten Son turned in one of the best performances as a team here. Cutler and Blake have grown exponentially as a team, and this match looked like a duo that could believably beat the tag team champions. Miz and Morrison on commentary is always fun, but they almost stole the spotlight from the winners in what was a defiant match for them. The more that the team hang around, the less likely it is the Forgotten Sons can ever really get over. Unless the plan is to put Miz and Morrison back in the hunt, keep them away from these segments the Forgotten Sons are involved in so that they can effectively get over and build a reputation on their own without being overshadowed, in my opinion. I have a feeling it's going to be a triple threat, though, at Money in the Bank, just the way that they're building it, so we'll see what happens. And then in our main event of the evening, there was also a backstage segment where Sasha distracted Tamina, and then Tamina and Lacey and Sasha and Bailey got into a fight backstage. Referee broke it up. Soon we'll probably get a tag team match next week before the pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens there. And in our main event of the evening, you have Otis versus Dolph Ziggler. Fired up by the injury suffered by his girlfriend Mandy earlier in the night, Otis hit the ring for the night's main event, a qualifying match for the Money in the Bank. Ziggler entered confidently, having already captured the top prize in the industry after winning the briefcase before. The relentless big man pummeled Ziggler in a one-sided match before conducting shoulder first with the ring post. Ziggler capitalized, sending him into the guardrail ahead of the commercial break. Dolph continued to work over the babyface, dropping him with a consecutive drop kicks. He followed up with a headlock, grounding the stronger competitor. Otis fought back, drove Ziggler into the corner, and set up for the caterpillar. Ziggler evaded it and tried for a famouser. Otis caught him, but the heel wiggled free and delivered the zigzag for a 2 count. Ziggler set up for the super kick, but Otis caught him and dropped him with a fallaway slam. The caterpillar followed successfully this time for the win. So Otis is in the Money in the Bank match. For as great as the storytelling this has been, and Ziggler and Otis haven't necessarily had the injury chemistry one would have hoped for. The match was fine for what it was, but both this and the WrestleMania encounter followed a very simplified formula. Perhaps this was designed to protect Otis. Uh, the outcome was surprising, and it felt like it was the opportunity to give Ziggler some heat back by dashing Otis's dreams of competing in the Money in the Bank match, thus leaving the happy couple out of SmackDown out of their ladder matches. Instead, Otis rolls into Money in the Bank, one of the dark horses to win the whole thing. Do I think Otis stands a chance? Absolutely not. I think they're probably both going to Raw, is my prediction. We'll see who wins the gauntlet match on Monday to also qualify. But I don't mind Black having the title. I don't mind Ray having it. I saw really anyone on SmackDown that Daniel Corbin and now Otis. I don't think that either one of them needs the Money in the Bank. I think it's going to be Jinder who wins it, the gauntlet match, and I could see Jinder winning the Money in the Bank, which you might think, why in the world would I want that? I don't want that at all. I think he would fail cash in and gets Drew, and it just gives Drew some more heat, or not heat, but more popularity. It's that beating Jinder, because there's already people who are giving up on Drew, and the best way to do that is by having him pin Jinder Mahal, who everyone hates. That was SmackDown. You can leave a comment telling me how you thought of the episode. I thought it was a pretty solid show. I see there's a lot of people hating on it. Um, I don't have any problem with this show. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Gave me something to do last night, and it's kind of set up a good setup for Money in the Bank in a good way. Um, that's it for me today. Leave a like, comment, tell me if you want to talk about anything. I'll be back tomorrow with some more sports news. See ya. Peace.